Hi everybody, welcome back. This is the third part of my sugar cookie series, and in it I show you simple, basic techniques on how to decorate your sugar cookies. Sugar cookie decorating should be fun. You should enjoy it, and so I'm going to show you easy ways to make your sugar cookies elegant and yet tasty at the same time. I'm going to walk you through how to make a royal icing, a glaze, and I'm going to show you how to use candy coating as another way to make your cookies a little bit more elegant, but do it when maybe you don't have as much time. To begin with, I have already pre-measured my ingredients. I used about 3 tablespoons of powdered egg whites. Place that in your mixer. And then on top, be careful, it's dusty. And then mix with that about 1 pound of powdered sugar. The powdered egg whites and the powdered sugar are in the mixer. I'm going to be adding liquid to it, about 5 tablespoons. I'm going to start with 5 tablespoons. That makes a thick royal icing. First is I'm going to use some vanilla, and then I'm going to use lemon juice. I love lemon juice in royal icing. I think it's delicious. Now that I've added all my liquid, I'm going to increase the whisking all the way to the highest setting. And I'm going to let it whisk for a good 3 or 4 minutes. The peak of this royal icing comes down just a little bit, but that's okay. I like the way this is holding its shape. It's staying mostly up. That's going to be perfect for what I'm going to be using it for. The second type of decorating sugar icing is actually what we call a sugar glaze. I've already pre-measured the ingredients for this one, and really all a glaze is it's powdered sugar and a liquid. Your liquid could be lemon juice, it can be vanilla, it can be an extract like almond extract, which is what I'll be using. And let's just go at it. What I like to do is about 250 grams of powdered sugar. And I like to do about 3 tablespoons of liquid with that. So what I'm going to start with is I'm going to start with 1 tablespoon of almond extract. Add 2 tablespoons of water. And then I just whisk it in. Much better. That's what I'm looking for right there. Perfect. All right. I always recommend when coloring your glazes and your icings that you actually put a little bit of the color on the spoon or on a toothpick first before mixing it in. That way you can control the amount that you're putting into your icing. Now that I've mixed some pretty colors, it's time to decorate. This is the fun part. In order to decorate, I like to use piping bags. If you don't have a piping bag that's available, you can use a Ziploc bag and just cut off the corner. That works perfect. Other things that you might want to use is you might want to have some sugar or some sprinkles, various different colors. You might want to have some brushes. I find that these work really well. Just a couple of cheap brushes that are very well cleaned and you can use for your food. I also like to have a toothpick. That allows me to, if I make a mistake, I can kind of scrape it off, or I can just fix it up in however way I want. To fill your piping bag, you want to take your piping bag and open it up. Fold it over, fold the top part of it over. Have that folded part go over your hand. Then take the item that you're going to put into the bag, and you can spoon it in, or you can use a spatula. Just somehow get it in your bag. Sometimes I tip the bowl up and I hold the bowl up over it and I just pour it in. It really doesn't matter. Once you have your glaze in your bag, take this portion that's folded over and lift it back up. You'll see here that there's all this air and kind of things here. That's okay. Just push your glaze down and squeeze out all those air bubbles if you can. Piping icing. When I was in culinary school, I actually did an internship at this cake shop, and there was a chef there who taught me how to pipe, and I've never forgotten it. So what she had me do is she had me snip off the tip of my piping bag with a pair of scissors. She told me to twist the top of the piping bag, and I would insert that area between my thumb and my index finger. That twist goes right in that area. She explained to me that, I'll never forget it, it helped out so much. She explained to me that you have one hand that you'd use your guiding hand, and the other hand that's you're considering your squeezing hand. Your squeezing hand is your non-dominant hand. I know that sounds strange, but for me it works. So I actually place the bag in my non-dominant hand to squeeze with, and I use some fingers, 2 fingers, in my dominant hand. I'm left-handed, so I'm using my 2 fingers on my left hand to actually guide the point, the very, very point of my piping bag where I want it to go. If you get squiggly lines while you're actually piping, that's mainly because your pressure's not consistent. Don't worry, it happens to everybody. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to trace, whoops, see how I got a little bit of a squiggly line there? It happens to everybody. Don't worry. I'm going back over it. That's okay. We're going to flood this whole thing. If you notice, there's a couple of these lines here that got a little crazy. They just kind of went towards the edge. That's okay. I'm just going to take my finger. I piped the exterior of this cookie, and now I'm going to let it dry. I'm doing that so that it makes a wall, and then that way when I fill in the rest of the cookie, the icing's not going to go quite everywhere. In this situation, I'm using my cake tester, or you can use a toothpick or the tip of a knife, if you will, to just kind of move it around and get it into the exact position I wanted. The icing here, you see how it's made a little dam on there? So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to what we call flood it. Meaning that I've added a little bit of water to the rest of my icing to thin it out just enough that it actually floods inside this cookie relatively easily, and I can fill the whole cookie with yellow. Feel free to grab a brush and just move it around, or you can use a toothpick, a knife, tip, or the cake tester that I was using earlier. Any of those will work great. Feel free to jiggle this cookie around. That'll even out some of these spots that don't look even. See this bubble here? I like to pop those bubbles. They just don't dry very nicely. Now that I've done that, my icing is still a little bit wet, but that's exactly where I want it to be, because I want to add maybe, let's say, red and green. Let's add red and green to this, and we can do what's really pretty and make a nice feathering. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pipe some lines in here. Don't be discouraged if your lines don't look particularly straight or perfect. Maybe they got a little squiggly. That's okay. We're going to fix that in just a second. See this? This isn't a perfect line. And look, I've got a big old bump right there. What am I going to do? My cookie looks horrible now. So, when something like that happens, it's not a problem. Look at these tails. In order to fix that so that nobody knows what happened, instead of making this a striped cookie, I'm just going to take my my cake tester or my toothpick, and I'm just going to start moving gently along it. Look at that. This is called feathering. And now nobody knows that you actually had some lines that weren't perfect. All they see is a really beautiful feathered cookie. One of my favorite techniques for using royal icing is to pipe a beautiful design and then to use a dry brush and actually pull some of that icing down towards the inside. It's like a feathering technique. It looks lovely. Allow me to show you. Like just 4 little round bits. It's almost like it's a flower, if you will. And with my dry brush, I grab the edges and I pull them towards the center. You don't want to pull a lot, just a little. Just enough that it starts to color the inside of the cookie, but not completely. You want to leave it just a little transparent. And there we have it. What a lovely little picture. The third way to decorate cookies in a simple and yet elegant way is to use candy coating. I like to use candy coating as opposed to chocolate in these situations because chocolate does need to be tempered. It tastes delicious, but if you're in a hurry and you have a time crunch, using candy coating would be your best bet. Candy coating is also referred to as almond bark. Start at the highest setting, maybe a minute. If it's a lot, if it's not this much, if it's about half this, then do it about 30 seconds. And then you're going to want to keep pulsing it at about 10 seconds each. Keep an eye on it. This stuff burns, and once it burns, there's no going back. This is my candy coating straight out of the microwave. As you can see, it's not entirely melted. There's 1 or 2 big chunks in here. That's okay. I don't want to burn it, so I prefer to have 1 or 2 big chunks. I can work around that. I find that to make it even more exquisite, I like to also sprinkle on things like a little bit of coconut. This is unsweetened coconut. I think the look is really nice with the dark and the coconut. I also pulled out some pistachios because they're nice and green and the color complements well. And I also pulled out some dried cranberries, but feel free to get very creative here. Use crystallized ginger, orange, candied orange peel, nothing at all, just have it chocolate. So here we go. The way I like to dip, you can do this, because it's a shark and it's a little bit, and I want to have the whole surface done, I'm just going to dip, and I'm going to go ahead and get the tips of my fingers in there. Pull it out. Just shake your hand back and forth just a little, just a little. You can see there's some of this candy coating that's coming off onto the surface. Then I'm going to shake it just a little bit here so that that ridge that was in the center kind of levels out a little bit. Look at that. Isn't that adorable? One of the things that I like to do is when I have a square, is I think it looks very aesthetically pleasing to have it on the bias like so. This is all about having fun after all. If, for example, see how my cookie's a lot taller than my actual container here? Tip the container on its side a little bit so it pools and then re-dip. That way you can get it just a little further up on the cookie. You can dip your sugar cookie into your chocolate. pull it out. You know, let some of that excess drip off a little bit. And honestly, you can serve your sugar cookie just like this. I mean, it's delicious. Who doesn't like a cookie that looks like that? Or for another added elegant touch, I like to do, like I was saying, the edge. So I just sit here and I do this. That's it. Just the edge. Sugar cookie with the glaze on it is completely dry. You can tell because it's not very shiny on the top as much, and you can kind of lightly tap it. But before you tap it, always look to see if it's shiny. Same thing with the turtle. He's pretty clean right now. He actually is all dried up as well. The flower is dry. But if you take a look, you'll notice that the blue is not completely dry yet. If I press my finger on it, you'll see that I make a little indent in it. It means it's on its way, but it's not completely done yet. Thank you for joining me, just as the turtle says. Thank you for being here. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please press like. If you have comments, suggestions, please feel free to put those in the comments below. I look forward to seeing them. And I hope that you subscribe. Have a good day. Cocoa Bean Monster! Rah!